What's up, everyone? It is Lan here with another episode of the Cheeseheadz Weekly Podcast. Don't laugh. I know I probably don't look that great in sunglasses, but at this point, I do not look any better. In fact, I look a lot worse without sunglasses, so you're just going to have to put up with it because my eyes are very red. And don't worry, it's just pink eye, and it does not spread through the camera or anything, so you'll be fine. But that is why I'm wearing sunglasses. It's good to be with you. I apologize for my last episode, kind of blew that one. I need to really just stop trying new stuff, and this one hopefully will work. Although I have been having trouble syncing the audio and video, so we'll see how that works out. But hoping to get back to just regular podcasting and not all this weird stuff that I've been doing, and put out some shorts, of course, as well, because those are a lot of fun. Right. So if you want to support the show, which I hope you do, it'd be nice if you could participate in those Q&As and polls that I post every time on Spotify. That's if you listen on Spotify. They're a lot of fun and get some Packers discussion going, which is always fun among Packers fans. Be sure to check out the link in the description of every episode to send in a voice message. Very easy and a lot of fun, and I can play it on the show for everyone to hear and answer your question or address any comments you may have, whatever you want. Check out the episode descriptions. I normally have all the ways to connect with the show there and a bunch of different links for different stuff. Be sure to join us every Tuesday. That's when a new episode will be coming out. The show is available basically everywhere you get your podcasts and also on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe there. You can hit the bell icon as well if you want to, and that will notify you when a new episode comes out, which again is every Tuesday. Be sure to rate the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can. Check me out on social media. I'm on X, Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok. That's only for shorts. I don't do anything else there at all. In fact, I don't even look at it. I just kind of post them remotely, and you can watch them there if you want to. And of course, we got the website at greycove.net/cheeseheadz. Okay, so free agency is starting to wind down. There were a few more surprises and some different things going on. So I'm going to go over the news that did not happen whenever I was talking last time. Of course, the big news, nothing happened quite as big as like the Jones release, the Bakhtiari release, and then the signing of Jacobs and McKinney. Nothing quite that big happened, but I will hopefully go over some things here and some interesting news. So I do actually have a mock draft that I'm going to go over here. We'll see how that goes. My first mock draft. I did a few just on my own, but with using a mock draft sim over at Pro Football Network, and so we're going to do that. And turned out pretty well, I think. 7-round mock. So we'll get to that in a minute here. I did want to get into some of the contract details here of the contracts of Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs, especially Josh Jacobs. That one is pretty interesting. So I will get into that as soon as I can bring it up here. We'll start with the Josh Jacobs one. So obviously this contract on the surface a 4-year deal, $48 million. But it's not. It's actually pretty team friendly, considering how much money Josh Jacobs has a chance to make. It has a $12.5 million signing bonus, but no other guaranteed payments. His base salary in 2024 is $1.2 million, which is guaranteed. And then the first year, he has a chance to make $13.7 million in his first year, and he has a $600,000 offseason workout bonus and up to $500,000 in per game active roster bonuses. So $14.8 million for the year for 2024. But after that, Packers can pretty much get out of the contract in any of the remaining years. This is honestly a little bit confusing. But 2025, he has a $5.93 million roster bonus on the 5th day of the 2025 league year. What in the world? Sorry, guys, this site is not great. Episode is off to a hot start, it looks like. Jacobs has a $5.93 million roster bonus on the 5th day of the 2025 league year, a $1.7 million base salary, $600,000 workout bonus, $500,000 per game active roster bonus for 2025. So he's not making very much then. He's making most of his money in 2024. 2026, base salary of $10.2 million, $600,000 workout bonus, up to $700,000 per game active roster bonuses. The salary moves to $12.2 million in 2027. Last year of his deal, workout bonus $600,000 up to $700,000 in per game active roster bonuses. So it'll be at least $13.7 million for 1 year. Could be as much as $14.8 million for 1 year. That's like 2024. After that, the deal continues more reasonably in the second year. Like I said, of $7.63 million and plus up to another $1.1 million in workout and active roster bonuses. But then in 2026, the cap hit increases significantly, and they'll have to basically make a decision. It looks like it starts out as basically a 2-year deal, and so he'll likely be with the Packers for 2 years, although they could get out of it after 1 if they really wanted to. And so after 2 years, it will be up to $11.5 million that they'll pay, and then $13.5 the year after that, which is, a good bit of money to pay a running back. So basically, it is a 1-year deal with 3 1-year options, according to how it's laid out in this article. My guess is it's actually a lot similar to, I didn't look into it a lot, but Aaron Jones' contract extension was 4 years, $48 million, and the cap hit increased a lot after the second year, kind of like this one. And the Packers and Aaron Jones, of course, took a pay cut and then got cut entering his 4th year. So, in other words, this is a team-friendly deal. They can get out of it fairly easy. Josh Jacobs likely won't even be with the Packers past 2025. It's possible if he takes a pay cut, he will, but if I know anything about Josh Jacobs, that's likely not going to happen, although maybe he'll fall in love with the Packers and want to do something like that. But we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone after the 2 years. But either way, a good signing, and I like the way the contract is structured because you never know with the running backs. It might not last 4 years, and he does have a good bit of wear and tear on him already, despite being younger than Aaron Jones. All right, on to the Xavier McKinney deal. It's pretty much just the typical veteran contract. It's, let me see here, 4-year deal. It will pay McKinney a $23 million signing bonus. Includes an $8.5 million roster bonus in both year 2 and year 3. Features a cap number under $8 million in 2024, according to Rob Demovsky of ESPN. The total value of the deal is $67 million. There are escalators worth another $1 million sprinkled in, and it will pay out over a little bit over $25 million in 2024. So the Packers tend to like a big signing bonus because then you can parade it across multiple seasons, and that lowers the cap hit in year 1. Signing bonus is the only fully guaranteed money in the deal, and roster bonuses in year 2 and 3 are team options and can be restructured as necessary to create cap space, which they do sometimes. A big base salary in the final year of the deal, but it's non-guaranteed, and it kind of inflates the total value of the contract, I guess, but it's not guaranteed money, so it isn't heavily backloaded. And of course, there's the workout and per game bonuses. They did not add void years, which they've done in the past, but they did not do that in this deal. So cap number in 2024, $7.8 million. In 2025, $17.6 million. 2026, $19.1 million. And 2027, $22.5 million. So basically, the Packers are locked into the deal for the first 2 seasons. But then, after the first 2 seasons again, decisions will be made by 2026. They would have almost $8 million in cap savings if they release McKinney before his second roster bonus is due. And he'll be a restructuring candidate as soon as next year if the Packers need to create cap space. So, again, I was basically just reading off this article. I really should look into this stuff a little bit more and try to understand it a little bit better. Probably should have before I did this. But basically, the deals are nothing special, and both are fairly team-friendly, especially the Josh Jacobs one. But maybe I'll look into that a little bit more myself and try to understand it a little bit better. But let's get into some news. So, Aaron Jones got released by the Green Bay Packers not very long after he went and signed with the Vikings. A very disappointing move. Another former Packer going to the Vikings. I'm not sure why they keep doing this. They just pick up all the Packers players that are washed and that the Packers know are not worth that much, and keep them on their team for a year or 2, and then they're like, man, I see why the Packers got rid of them, and then they get rid of them themselves. So it's good to know, although I do think Jones had a little bit left. it's a little bit. We'll get into this a little bit later. We'll talk about kind of the relationships between Jones and then Devondre Campbell, who was also released in the Packers front office. So there's that. And then the Packers re-signed Keyshawn Nixon. He started in the slot last year, two-time first-team All-Pro at kick returner last year and the year before. He's returning on a 3-year deal. Kind of got paid this time. Some people thought maybe a little bit too much, but he is coming back to the Packers, and I like the move. Does not have the contract details here. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 3-year, $18 million deal, and I won't go over to the details of it, but it's for $6 million per year. And they also re-signed Corey Ballantyne to a deal, and Andy Herman mentioned on X that this is a little bit, they're paying him a little bit maybe more than expected. They're paying him more than just a, vet minimum deal. I will scroll down here and see what he has to say here. Sorry, it's taking me a little while to find it. Okay. Well, maybe I just won't. I don't need to read that off, I guess. But essentially, he's almost. He has a very good chance of making the 53-man roster next year. Packers must have liked, what he did. He did start some games at safety in replace of an injured Stokes and Jair Alexander. So, from everything I heard, obviously I don't watch film, don't have access to that, but from everything I heard, he was not terrible, and for he's obviously a core special teamer, and so I think it's very good for the team, very good for Ballantyne, and I'm glad he is back. Okay, on to the next one. And, by the way, Jonathan Owens decided to sign with the Bears. So the Bears getting in on some Packers action here as well. So Darnell Savage and Owens are gone. Rudy Ford still unsigned. It's possible they still bring him back. Chicago also signed Kevin Byard, another old safety. Seems like just the perfect thing to do for a rebuilding team that is likely still not going to be contending next year. That's besides the point, but I don't expect a whole lot of competition from the Bears again. And by the way, they have Jaquan Brisker at safety. I almost forgot to mention him. Since, he thinks most of the Packers players are, how should we say, not good at all. In fact, they shouldn't even be in the NFL. At least that's what he seemed to think earlier. I mean, he talked like an NFL fan, like a Bears fan maybe. That just, very unprofessional type of player, but I mean, what more would you expect from the Bears? Packers did re-sign linebacker Christian Welch. He was a very big part of the special teams, and so he's a Wisconsin native, it looks like, and he will return as pretty much just a special teams guy for Rich Bisaccia. And I mean, they do need depth at off-ball linebackers, so it won't be a bad idea. They don't have Campbell anymore, so now it looks like currently on the roster, I believe they have a linebacker, Christian Young, who they signed to a futures deal from the practice squad. And, of course, they have Isaiah McDuffie, Quay Walker, and now Christian Welch. So They have to build that up, and I am going to go over my top 5 needs. I kind of forgot to write them down, so sorry, I'm a little unprepared in this one. I do apologize for that. We'll get back on track eventually, but I don't really have any real specific topics at this point, so I'm just kind of piecing stuff together for episodes. So hey, if you have any ideas for topics, feel free to contact me. There's all kinds of ways to do that in the description of each episode. So we have a surprise move here. A.J. Dillon, after formerly it was reported that he was not expected to be back with the Packers, in a surprise move, according to Packers Wire, Packers brought back A.J. Dillon, a 4-year qualifying offer, which is a contract mechanism established in the latest CBA. It's basically a 1-year deal with little salary cap liability for the Packers. And so it means he's returning to Green Bay. He's kind of made that play, kind of made Green Bay home for his family, and so he wanted to be back, and apparently did not command a ton of interest, although I do know teams like the Cowboys had interest in him, and I do think he took a little bit less than he could have got on the open market to stay with the Packers. But he'll likely be a backup to Josh Jacobs. Not a great 2023 season. Hopefully he can come back and be better, but now the running back room looks like not quite as big of an issue because it gives them depth. At least for 2024, I think they're good to go because they have Jacobs, they have Dillon, they have Emmanuel Wilson, who they brought back, tendered him. He was an exclusive rights free agent. They brought back all their exclusive rights free agents. I don't remember who all of them were. Caleb Jones, offensive tackle, might have been one of them. So all of them are back. So we got basically our top 3 from last year with just the change at the top from Jones to Jacobs. And Devondre Campbell got released by the Packers, as we heard. He will go to the 49ers, who do have a need at off-ball linebacker because Dre Greenlaw is recovering from an Achilles injury in the Super Bowl that he suffered when running onto the field from the sideline. Very gross-looking injury. If you watch the clip, you can actually see his Achilles ripping. It's not a pretty sight, but Devondre Campbell will turn 31 in July. He's getting older. He was pretty good when healthy in Green Bay, although he did decline quite a bit from his first-team All-Pro season. Struggled a lot with injuries each of the last 2 seasons and wasn't near as good when on the field. Looked kind of old out there. But we'll see what happens. Packers do host the Niners in the regular season in 24, so Campbell will get an opportunity to play at Lambeau again, take his revenge on the Packers, because he seems to be a little bit upset with the Packers front office, and I will go over that a little bit here. So he's just basically seems to have got himself into a little bit of mess here on Twitter. Devondre Campbell did. Basically just over here going at it with the fans. I'm not really sure when this started. A lot of it happened, it looks like, yesterday. Or I guess that would be Sunday, because I'm recording this on a Monday and you're hearing this on a Tuesday or after that. So, yeah, a lot of stuff on Sunday. Oh my goodness. Basically, just replied to a bunch of fans who replied to him, and yeah, going at it. So I'm not sure where I want to start here. Okay, I'm back at January 3. So apparently he didn't have a ton of action. As soon as he got released, stuff started happening. Maybe he deleted the tweet. Oh man. So basically, from what I remember, he was talking about being misused by the Packers, and basically throwing a lot of shade towards Joe Barry and company. Just going, yeah, going over this stuff, and he also said that the Packers did not ask him to take a pay cut or anything, which I don't know. Would he have taken a pay cut to stay with the Packers? We don't know that. But he seems a little bit bitter about that. Of course, he did clarify after and said he's not bitter about any of this. So that's good to know, Devontae. Why y'all keep saying I trashed the Packers after he got done trashing the Packers, basically? I never once said anything negative about the organization. Best organization I've ever been a part of at this point. But it's some coaches I lost all respect for. Okay, so, that's some good clarification, I guess. Fast forward to 2022, 2023 season. I tried to be a team guy and play within the system. Do what they asked. Be more visual on the QB, not look up routes. Back up from the line of scrimmage, so I'm not pressing every wide receiver or tight end. This is all in quotes, so apparently this is what coaches told him, presumably Joe Barry. Look what happened. They had me, Quay, out there looking clueless. And then SMH shaking my head. Oh my. Listen, so he's replying to some other fan here, or I don't know who this person is. Okay, Robin Adams. So this is co-owner of Wisconsin Sports Heroics. Not a news site I have a whole lot of respect for, to be honest, with the stuff they write about. They overblow and exaggerate some things, but it's basically like a fan page, and they write their titles so that they're very catchy and by exaggerating things, and that turns me off pretty quick. He says, quote, "Listen, if I would have listened to half the stuff they were telling me, I would have never went all pro. All year, all I heard was, can you do this? It'll help the scheme." I kept saying no all year, and look what happened. First team all pro. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so basically Robin Adams was asking what changed from 2021 to 2022 to 2023, because the scheme sure felt worse every year, and we all know the coach in charge wasn't making any changes. And Packers Weekly podcast, shout out to fellow podcaster, instead of assuming a fellow Packers podcaster, instead of assuming what the player means by misused, maybe ask the player, for clarification about what misused means. It's wild how many of you agree that the coach's scheme was not good, termination worthy, and at the same time blame a player for saying he was. Not sure I really followed all that, but Devontae said all they had to do was ask, and I would have been more than happy to clarify, but instead they do what's easiest, attack me and call me bitter when that's the furthest thing from the truth. Oh boy. And then apparently this guy by the name of Kyle found out that Devontae Campbell liked this post from Jade Heath. So here's this post that Devontae liked. I bet you, he tagged Devontae Campbell. I bet you now understand why Aaron Rodgers always tried to defend players. Green Bay is the worst team on how they treat players on their way out. Wish you the best of luck. Here's to hoping someday Green Bay treats the players right. It's business until it's not. Okay. And then Kyle apparently figured out that Devondre Campbell liked that post, and he says, please explain / provide more context to you liking this then. Devondre says the organization did not even call me to ask if I wanted to take a pay cut. They just released me after going in the media and saying me and Aaron Jones were part of the future plans. They could have just told me the truth. I could easily be bitter, but I'm not. Yeah, he writes a very bitter statement and says, I could be bitter, but I'm not. Okay. I guess I'll take your word for it. You can tell, hopefully in my voice, that I'm being somewhat sarcastic throughout this whole thing. I kind of find this all interesting, to be honest. So we don't need to read all these. There's a lot. And some fan, Teddy Westside, said, don't care who you're mad at. I love you. You're my kid's favorite player, no matter where you play. Nothing but love and hopefully peace for you and your family. Be great. Devondre, of course, says, I'm not mad at anyone. Just to clarify that. And after that, he says, I just wanted to clarify some false information. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support from you and your family. It doesn't go unnoticed. I pray you guys have a blessed Sunday. And then after that, he says, the truth sounds insane to someone that isn't used to hearing it. Just know the majority of fans are on your side and wishing you the best moving forward. And Campbell says, I love all the fans that love me. Okay, well, make sure you love Devondre if you want to be loved by Devondre. I love all the fans that love me. The 3 years I spent in Green Bay were definitely special, and I appreciate all the support you guys have given me over the last 3 years. Hope you guys enjoy your Sunday. And I'll just read one more here. It's so interesting. I'm sure you guys are bored out of your minds by now, but man, you don't have to explain yourself to Twitter trolls as a Packers. Yeah, see, it's a misspelling, but he meant to say as a Packers fan, or as Packers fans, we know we have the personnel to have the best defense, but that's only one part to the equation. Even somebody like me could see the play calling was absolutely garbage, set us, or you guys, up to fail. Devondre says, I was not trying to explain myself, just clearing a few things, that's all. I wish my brothers over there and the organization the best of luck. And some fan says, you should be bitter. And Devondre's like, why you say that? And let me just look at this post, because this fan replied to that then. They should have talked to you, brother, that's all. So, there's that. Rasul had something to say about that as well. Someone asked him about Quay Walker. Said something about how his view of Quay is kind of like that he's a great athlete, but not very smart, but nothing upstairs, to quote what he said. Sorry for doubting Quay. What about that run defense? Might as well lay it all out there, as if he hasn't already. Quay is going to be just fine. They just had him thinking too much. He's a dog. You don't make dogs think. You just let him play. He's a great player. I think this new system will fit him perfectly. Okay. I wonder if Campbell really wanted to be back. It would be kind of interesting to know, to be honest. But like Andy Herman said, you can't be complaining too much about being misused. Linebackers, just kind of play linebacker. I get it. You can be asked to do certain things at linebacker they don't want to do, like, back up off the line of scrimmage, look at the quarterback instead of the tight ends and wide receivers, don't press anyone. I get it. That's the part he didn't like. But it's just kind of hilarious the way he's going off about this. And then the fans are commenting, and now he's trying to reply to all of them, too, and trying to clarify everything now, because now he doesn't want to come off looking too bad. And it's just, it's kind of funny. All right. I really should move on to something else, though. And I'm going to go over a mock draft. Maybe before I'll mention my top 5 needs. Number 1 need, I think now, before it was kind of a sneaky need for me, but now they're transitioning. It does not seem like a word. Pardon me. Let me try again. Transitioning. There we go. Making the move from a 3-4 base defense to a 4-3, that means we're going to have 3 off-ball linebackers instead of 2. Now, obviously, just to clarify, it's going to be the majority of the defense is played in nickel, so we're not going to have a lot of snaps in base defense, but whenever you are in base defense, we're going to have 3 linebackers on the field likely. So, linebacker now becomes a major need now that they release Campbell, because to me, and to most people, they only have 2 starting caliber linebackers, and some people would say McDuffie is his best as maybe a 4th linebacker, which I can see that, and he does very good at filling in, and I wouldn't have a problem with him being the 3rd guy, and that might be how it ends up. But he does have Jeff Hathley, his coach at BC, coming back to coach him again, so that would be fun. So yeah, linebacker is now number 1, I think. Safety is down to number 2, was number 1, now number 2. They signed McKinney, and McKinney's about the only guy I would really want starting out there, so I think they're going to do a lot of work via the draft. I expect them to draft at least 1 safety. I think they should draft at least 2, and if they draft 3, I don't have a problem with it. Number 4, this is where it gets a little interesting. At one point, I might have said a running back, but they don't really need a running back of the future. They did get 3 years younger with the move to Josh Jacobs. Now, it is a need that will be coming up before too long, and they could use a better backup, or, after this year, if Dillon isn't back again, then they might want to draft a guy to back up Jacobs for next year, and then the next year after that, Jacobs might not be here, and we don't know about Emmanuel Wilson, although there was a report before they re-signed A.J. Dillon, or a rumor maybe, that the Packers really like Wilson, and we're going to give him every chance to be the number 2 back. So there's that, but I don't think running back is a very big need. In fact, if they don't draft a running back this year, I'm okay with it. Offensive line, some people seem to think it's a need. I don't think that's much of a need. We pretty much have all the same linemen we had before, except for John Runyon Jr., and he was in a rotation with Sean Ryan anyway. And Sean Ryan, I think the Packers are hoping, can go and take that role at right guard from Runyon. But we obviously could use some depth there. I think defense somewhere else is probably where a big need is now. I'll talk a little bit during the draft, but D-line's a little bit of I think it's kind of a need, but it's a little bit of a dilemma too, because we kind of have depth. We just need more top-end talent, I think. So, don't know about that. And who knows, with the scheme change, maybe we'll be able to utilize the players they have better. I don't really know. I don't know what Hafley's plans are for some of these guys. So we'll see how that works out. But edge rusher is also a need. So basically, we have a lot of semi-needs, I think. I'm going to put defensive line at number 3. I'll explain why a little bit more later. Again, I don't really know how they're going to attack that, but we'll see. And then I like either edge rusher or offensive line, and I think I'll put offensive line. I like where we're at edge rusher. We could use some depth with the Enigbari injury. We have 3. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, and then after that it's Brenton Cox. And so with Kingsley Enigbari recovering, likely not gonna, he could miss like half of the season. I don't know. Probably will start the season on the PUP list. I'm sure he's ahead of schedule in his recovery because everyone is when they tear their ACL. But yeah, we'll see when he gets back. So I think I'm gonna put edge and then offensive line because I think with those two, it's just depth. Defensive line, we need more top end talent. We have the depth, and then with the other two, it's just their needs. We need depth, we need top end talent, we need it all. So I only see. Oh, hold on a minute. I messed it up. I forgot all about corner. I knew there was something I was missing. Corner will be number 3. I do think we could use another corner. We have Stokes, we have Alexander, but both of those have been injured. We could use another good corner. So I could definitely see them drafting a corner in the first round, and Cooper DeJean has been mocked to them a lot, and he has the versatility to play safety or corner. And, we'll talk about him in a little bit. So, number 1, linebacker. Number 2, safety. Number 3, cornerback. Number 4, I guess we'll go D-line. And number 5, offensive line. And you can the edge rushers is practically lumped with the D-line now, especially if we're talking 4-3, defensive end, defensive tackle, you know what I'm saying. But, yeah. You can kind of lump them together, I guess, for number 5. And we'll put offensive line at number 4. So there's my top 5 needs. Let me just read over them to you again now that I've pieced it together. Number 1, linebacker. Number 2, safety. Number 3, cornerback. Number 4, offensive line. Pretty much any of the offensive line could use a little bit of depth, and I think we're going to need a replacement at center pretty soon here. Josh Myers entering a contract year, and he's probably the weakest link on the offensive line right now. And then number 5, defensive line / edge rushers / just the whole defensive line. Okay. There's my top 5 positions of need for the Packers after the main free agency frenzy headed into the draft, and I have a mock draft to go right along with that. So I will find it here. I'll bring it up. I will look at it, and I will post it here for you to look at as I'm talking about it. Now, I did think about I have not scouted these players, not watched a bunch of film on these players, anything like that. I've heard people talk about them. I've listened to podcasts. I've listened to, by the way, the Daily Draft, part of the Pack a Day podcast by Ross Uglum does that. Shout out to him. Let me just give you his Twitter information here. It's at Ross Uglum. Okay. That's nice and simple. Okay, yeah, so you can follow him on Twitter at Ross Uglum, and he does the daily draft for the Pack a Day podcast. He's just knocking it out of the park right now with all their great Packers content every single day, doing draft stuff every day now. So, shout out to him and Andy Herman and company there. So basically, I listen to a lot of him because he talks Packers-specific stuff, which is very nice. And any other info I can get, Packers Wire is my main site for Packers stuff, and they do this thing where they unpack future Packers, and they do 100 of them leading up to the draft. So You get plenty of content there. I don't always read over all of them, but I can get helpful information and a few clips of their film throughout. So, basically, what I did, 7th round mock draft using the Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator. I did not do any trades of any kind. I just picked based on where they're at. And I happened to luck out this time because normally when I do that, a lot of the top-end players, I'm normally left with not very many top-end defensive players, just some offensive linemen sometimes. Depends. But I was able to get Cooper DeJean. He fell to the 25th pick. I'm not sure if he'll make it there. I'm not sure if Goody will want to try to trade up aggressively to get him. But a teammate of Lucas Van Ness at Iowa, and it seems like a very, very fine Packers pick, and they want to be more versatile and have guys that can play multiple positions and play them well, and that is Cooper DeJean all over. I've seen him listed as a corner. I've seen him listed as a safety. Most people just list him as a DB because he can do a little bit of everything. He could probably play slot corner, outside corner, safety. He could probably play the post safety and maybe even strong safety as well. So pretty much any position in the secondary you can use him as. Not really sure what his strongest position is, but very nice chess piece for Jeff Hafley. If they could get him at 25, it would be fantastic. At pick 41 in the second round, I have them picking Edgerrin Cooper, most people's number one ranked linebacker in this class out of Texas A&M. I really like him. Seems to be a very explosive, good athlete, and I don't have a ton to say, but big time. Definitely is Ross Uglam's guy, so he's my guy too, of course, because this guy knows his Packers. At 58, here's where things get interesting. Second round pick again, Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Now, this guy, from everything I've heard, is good. He's athletic, good at stopping the run. The problem is he's just a tick below 300 pounds, and don't remember what his height is, but that's a little bit smaller for a defensive tackle, and they have a lot of smaller guys. So that's what I question. The problem is where the question comes in, but the problem is a lot of the bigger guys aren't very athletic, have no pass rush upside whatsoever, very much TJ Slayton-esque, and I don't want to pick those guys that early if they're just a run defender. Chris Jenkins is a pretty good run defender at his size. Obviously, at the NFL, he could struggle a little bit more, but according to Ross Uglam, he is pound for pound the best run defender, or very close to it, in college. So, or at least that's coming out of all the defensive tackles prospects in this draft. So, I really like him. I like his upside. The problem is the Packers have 5 guys that probably, at least in my mind, should be locks to make the roster. Now, are they going to keep 6 defensive tackles? I don't know. But they have Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, entering a contract year, by the way. Then they have Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden. Who else? I totally just forgot the other guy. Is it Jonathan Ford? I was pretty sure there was another good interior defensive lineman. Man, I'm going to have to look that up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not sure why I couldn't remember him all of a sudden. But I will just look at the Packers depth chart here real quick, and it should just, pop right up here for me. So, Kenny Clark, yeah. Oh, Devontae Wyatt. Yeah, I was going to say. I knew I was missing someone. Yeah, so Devontae Wyatt. So those guys, to me, seem like locks. Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton, seem like locks to make it. Now, the guys who, TJ Slayton, mainly just a run defender, big dude, and pretty athletic, actually, but not much pass rush upside with him. Kenny Clark, do it all. He can do everything, and also fairly big, over 300 pounds. Devontae Wyatt, also good size, has a lot of trouble stopping the run, but has some major pass rush upside. And pretty much the same thing applies to Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks, mainly because they're both under 300 pounds, I think. Both played some edge rusher. Some of them play, I think Wooden played the majority of his snaps at edge in college. So not very big. And Chris Jenkins is pretty close to 300 pounds. And I think maybe Wooden might be 270 some. So that's a fair bit of difference. But the thing is, Carl Brooks played really well. Colby Wooden showed some flashes, not quite as much as Brooks, but I don't think the Packers, for one thing, I don't think if they release him, they get him back on the practice squad. So if they want to keep him, they got to keep him on the 53. I think he's good enough to be on the 53. I like him. I think he can develop into a good player. So do they keep 6? Because I feel like they need more help stopping the run. Because they got those 2 smaller defensive linemen in Brooks and Wooden. So it's really a tough call. I think the Packers should address it. Do I know how the puzzle's going to fit together when we're putting together the 53-man roster? No, I do not. So it's going to be tough to figure that out. And it's possible to keep 6, and then they have to short themselves in another position, and I'm not sure what that would be. So we'll figure all that out later. All in all, I really like the player, and I like the value and pick there. And in the third round, I believe it's in the third round at this point, 88 overall, Cole Bishop, safety out of Utah, blew up the combine, one of the most athletic safeties in the class, and posted a 9, at least above a 9.6. I have above a 9.8 in my head, but don't take that to the bank. We'll just say 9.5 or more, I believe, for Cole Bishop. And blew up the combine, and from what I heard, he could be a really good safety. Film looks pretty good. He's quick. His agility, maybe not the greatest, like lateral agility. He's explosive otherwise, so possibly not a guy for the free safety, but it could be a really good, strong safety, and that would be fantastic. Pair him and McKinney. McKinney can play the post, and Cole Bishop can play strong safety, and you have your starters, and of course, then after that, you just need depth, which I really didn't get a ton of here in this draft. After that, in the third round, 91 overall, is Jeremiah Trotter Jr., linebacker out of Clemson. Got another higher level top 5 linebacker prospect in this class. I won't talk too much about him because I don't know much about him, but seems like a good prospect. Tanner Bordolini, center out of Wisconsin, the great state of Wisconsin. I have him here, pretty athletic. Hopefully he could be a Josh Myers replacement eventually. Myers, like I said, entering his contract year, and has not played all that well, so I don't really expect him to be back to the Packers unless he takes a major leap this season. At 169 overall, I picked another offensive lineman, Javon Foster, an offensive tackle out of Missouri. What I've heard about him, he's pretty athletic, he's long, and really good in pass pro, and can hopefully be, definitely athletic enough to be good at run blocking as well. And another offensive lineman, 202 overall. I got a guard out of NC State, know nothing about him, but I picked him because I saw his RAS score was over 9, I think. And his name is Dylan McMahon. So, we'll see how that works. 219 overall is Omar Spites. I think that's how you say it, or Spates. Who knows? Linebacker out of LSU. Had a nice RAS score. That's why I picked him, because one thing I know is that the Packers, without watching film, that is just that the Packers like high RAS scores. They like athletic guys. And I know some of the size thresholds that they like. So, yeah, you can kind of pick based off that. 245 overall, I got Sam Hartman, quarterback out of Notre Dame. 255 overall, I got a running back out of Louisville by the name of Jahar Jordan. Don't know him at all, but I figured I should probably just grab a running back, and I mean, who knows? It's the 7th round anyway. So all in all, I really like the way this turned out. Could have used possibly another safety, but again, we got Cooper DeJean, who can play just about anywhere. So he can also, play at safety. And actually, at PFN, he is listed as a safety. So I like it. Could be a touch heavy on the offensive line side. But like I said, I think they could use a little bit of depth at tackle, guard, and center. So I like that. Packers have talked about, at least Scooty has, about drafting and developing quarterbacks. So I drafted Sam Hartman in the 7th round there. Got a lot of guys that I really liked. Was not able to draft Max Melton. He came off the board. I possibly would have took him at 58. He came off right before 58. And so I took Chris Jenkins there instead. But I was happy to get him, Cole Bishop, Edge Cooper, and Schroeder Jr. Just a lot of linebackers. Got 3 linebackers and 3 offensive linemen. So kind of heavy at 2 different positions there, but especially linebacker, I like that because that gives them 2 starting level linebackers plus another, possible special teams guy, whatever, in Spites there in the 7th round. But then Edge Cooper and Schroeder can hopefully start. And then you have 4 capable starters, and whoever's the worst is your swing man. Rotate in, and it's possible they re-sign Eric Wilson. It was reported that they had interest in re-signing him. They haven't done so yet. If they do, that gives them even more depth. I'm not sure how many linebackers they typically keep. I think they kept 5 maybe. So that would be about right. Maybe not. They might not be able to keep all those guys if they draft them all. So it'll be a little bit interesting to see how it works because they did re-sign Christian Welch. Now, again, he's not a lock to make the 53, so perhaps he will be a stick on the practice squad. Who knows? But that will do it about for me today. I'll post that mock draft on social media for y'all to look at and comment on if you want. Feel free to give me any feedback you want, any questions that you want answered, or that you want me to try to answer. If you listened to this episode, great job getting through it. It was a little bit rough, and you know that I might not be able to answer every question after all. All right, that'll do it for me today. Appreciate the support, and we'll be back here next week to talk Packers. Hopefully I can figure out a topic this time. Go Pack, go.